Hello, friends. I am here today with some more thoughts on leadership. You know, sometimes I like to share those thoughts with you. And today I want to talk about one of the fundamental roles of a leader, and that is decision making. You guys know this as leaders. You're constantly making decisions on a daily basis. Some small, some large, some have low stakes, some have high stakes, but there's constantly decisions being placed in front of you. As a leader, you want to be able to make those decisions. Your people, your team will be frustrated if you're indecisive or you're not making those decisions in what they would consider a timely manner. But I really want to talk about how you're making those decisions. And I like to talk about this in our workshops when I talk about principle versus preference. And oftentimes when you're faced with a decision, a lot of times you want to default to what your preference is. And your preference is based on your experience, how you've made decisions before. Maybe you're deciding based on what you did as an officer or as a dispatcher or a firefighter, whatever that was, because you're relying on your experience and what you experienced at that position to then make that decision now as a supervisor, as a manager. And so a lot of times you'll default to your preference. Well, this is how I like to do it. And that's not necessarily bad, but it can cause problems for you. And I like to ask myself the question when I'm faced with these decisions, am I making this decision based on principle or am I making it based on preference? The principle is, what is the right thing to do? What is right for the team? What is right for the organization? What's right for the profession? Is it aligned with the mission? Is it aligned with the goals of the organization? You can't go wrong by making that decision based on principle. And sometimes your preference is aligned with the principle, which is wonderful. But sometimes your preference may not necessarily be aligned with the principle, and maybe it's just your way of doing things. And I'm not saying you should never do that, but it's possible that a member of your team has a different preference. It's possible that a member of your team has a different way to get to that outcome that you're all looking for, towards that goal. If it's still working towards the goal and the mission, why not let them make that decision their way? And why not you set your preference aside and rely on a principle-based decision versus a preference-based decision? Again, I'm not saying you should never make decisions based on preference, but sometimes that can get us in trouble as leaders. And what causes it? I've talked about this before. What gets in the way all the time? Ego. And you know, I've talked about this book before. This is one of my favorite books. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Fantastic read. And he talks about how our egos get in the way a lot of times. And when I think about principle versus preference, if I'm relying on preference to make decisions as a leader all the time, a lot of times that's my ego getting in the way. And that can frustrate my team, that can frustrate my people. There's more than one right way sometimes to get to that goal, to get to that outcome. So I hope that helps you in your decision making. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. And remember to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Have a great day.